You wake up at 6 o'clock a.m. The alarm is sharp, mechanical, unforgiving. You check your phone before you even sit up. Emails, market updates, a notification about your credit card balance, a reminder that your student loan payment is due next week. You swing your legs out of bed, already mentally calculating numbers before your feet hit the floor. This is not just a routine. It's a psychological loop. In America, money is more than currency. It is identity. It is freedom. It is security. It is status. It is fear. And if you truly want to understand finance in the United States, you must first understand psychology. Because the American financial system does not run on dollars alone. It runs on human behavior. From childhood, the programming begins. Work hard and you'll succeed. Go to college and you'll earn more. Buy a house. Build equity. Invest in the market for retirement. These ideas are not wrong, but they are incomplete. They shape how millions of Americans move through life, often without questioning the deeper structure behind them. The average American household carries tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Student loans, car payments, mortgages, credit cards. On paper, debt is just leverage. In reality, it is psychological pressure. It changes how you think. It narrows your risk tolerance. It makes you cling to stability, even when opportunity knocks. Why? Because the brain is wired to avoid pain more strongly than it seeks pleasure. Losing money hurts more than gaining money feels good. Behavioral economists call this loss aversion. Wall Street has known this for decades. Marketing teams know it. Banks know it. Politicians know it. Fear is a stronger motivator than hope. But here's where it becomes fascinating. The American dream is built on hope. The idea that anyone can rise. That the next startup founder could be sitting in a garage right now. That the next real estate mogul might be waiting tables tonight. This belief fuels ambition. It fuels entrepreneurship. It fuels the stock market. It fuels late nights and second jobs and side hustles. And yet, statistically, most people will not become millionaires. Most will remain employees. So why does the system continue to function so effectively? Because the promise of possibility is enough. Your brain releases dopamine not when you achieve the goal, but when you anticipate it. When you imagine the promotion. When you calculate how much your portfolio could be worth in 20 years. When you scroll Zillow and picture yourself in a bigger house. Anticipation keeps you moving. This is why performance bonuses work. This is why stock options motivate employees. This is why commissions drive sales teams to exhaustion. The reward is always just slightly ahead. Look at corporate America. Public companies are obsessed with quarterly earnings. CEOs speak in future projections. Analysts forecast growth. Investors speculate on what could happen next. The entire market is forward-looking. It trades on expectation. When expectations rise, stock prices rise. When expectations fall, panic spreads. Notice something powerful here. Perception often matters more than reality. A company can post record profits, but if those profits are slightly below expectations, the stock crashes. Why? Because the psychological narrative shifted. Investors feel disappointed, and disappointment, in markets, can be expensive. Now think about your own financial life. You get a raise. At first, it feels incredible. You celebrate, maybe you upgrade your apartment or your car. 6 months later, that new income feels normal. The excitement fades. This is called hedonic adaptation. Humans adapt quickly to improved circumstances. What once felt luxurious becomes baseline. This is one of the most dangerous psychological traps in American consumer culture. As income rises, lifestyle rises. As lifestyle rises, expenses rise. As expenses rise, pressure rises. You feel wealthier, but your financial freedom doesn't actually increase. Sometimes it decreases. Credit cards amplify this effect. Swipe now, pay later, earn rewards, cash back, travel points. The system feels generous. But credit is not neutral. It shifts spending from rational to emotional. When you pay with cash, you feel the loss immediately. When you swipe a card, the pain is delayed. Studies show people spend significantly more when using credit versus cash. Why? Because the psychological friction is reduced. America perfected frictionless consumption. One-click checkout. Buy now, pay later. Same-day delivery. The easier it is to spend, the less time your brain has to question the decision. Convenience overrides caution. And yet, this same country also produces some of the greatest investors and entrepreneurs in history. Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Oprah Winfrey, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. They understood something most people don't. Money is a tool, not a trophy. The difference between financial stress and financial leverage often comes down to mindset. Most people trade time for money. They sell hours. The wealthy focus on owning assets, businesses, stocks, intellectual property, real estate, systems that generate income, even when they are not actively working. But here's the deeper layer. To shift from employee thinking to ownership thinking requires psychological discomfort. It requires delayed gratification. The Stanford marshmallow experiment showed that children who could delay gratification tended to have better life outcomes. In finance, this principle is everything. Spend today or invest for tomorrow. Upgrade now or build equity quietly. Impress others or build net worth silently. American culture celebrates visible success. Big houses, luxury cars, designer brands, social media highlights. But true financial power is often invisible. It's the investor who lives below their means while accumulating assets. It's the entrepreneur reinvesting profits instead of upgrading lifestyle. It's the disciplined saver who ignores trends. Discipline is not glamorous, but it compounds. Compound interest is often called the eighth wonder of the world, but psychologically, it's counterintuitive. Humans struggle to grasp exponential growth. We think linearly. If you invest $10,000 and earn 8% annually, the growth seems slow at first, but over decades, it becomes transformative. The problem is that decades feel abstract. The present feels urgent. This is why retirement planning is difficult. It requires sacrificing today for a version of yourself that feels distant. Your future self is almost like a stranger. And psychologically, we care less about strangers than about our current desires. So how do you overcome this? By making the future feel real. Visualize your life at 60, at 70. Imagine the freedom of not worrying about bills. Imagine being able to support your family without anxiety. When the future becomes emotionally vivid, discipline becomes easier. Let's talk about risk. Americans often pride themselves on risk-taking. The startup culture in Silicon Valley glorifies bold moves. Fail fast, disrupt, move fast, and break things. But in personal finance, most Americans are surprisingly risk-averse. They avoid investing because markets fluctuate. They keep cash in low-yield accounts out of fear. Or they swing to the other extreme and chase hype stocks, crypto surges, meme trends driven, not by analysis, but by fear of missing out is one of the most powerful psychological forces in modern finance. When everyone seems to be making money, sitting on the sidelines feels painful. Social proof amplifies risk-taking. If thousands of people are buying, it must be safe, right? Wrong. Markets are emotional amplifiers. Greed pushes prices above intrinsic value. Fear pushes them below. The disciplined investor learns to detach emotionally. Detachment does not mean apathy. It means control. When markets crash, headlines scream. Red numbers flash across screens. Your brain interprets this as danger. The amygdala activates. Fight or flight. Sell now. Escape the pain. But historically, some of the greatest investment opportunities appeared during panic. The 2008 financial crisis. The 2020 pandemic crash. Those who remained calm and invested strategically often saw extraordinary returns in the following years. Emotional regulation is financial power. Now, let's go deeper. Why do some people obsess over money while others avoid thinking about it? Your financial behavior is shaped by early experiences. If you grew up in scarcity, you might hoard money or fear investing. If you grew up around wealth, you might feel more comfortable with risk. Money scripts and conscious beliefs formed in childhood drive adult decisions. For example, someone who believes rich people are greedy may subconsciously sabotage their own earning potential. Someone who believes money equals safety may overwork to the point of burnout. In America, hustle culture often blurs the line between ambition and addiction. Working 80-hour weeks becomes a badge of honor. But if income increases while health declines, is that wealth? True financial intelligence includes psychological self-awareness. Ask yourself, why do I want more money? Is it freedom, status, security, approval? Clarity changes strategy. If freedom is the goal, then building passive income and reducing expenses might matter more than maximizing salary. If status is the goal, spending may dominate saving. If security is the goal, diversification and emergency funds become priorities. The American financial system offers enormous opportunity. Capital markets are deep. Entrepreneurship is supported. Information is accessible. But opportunity without discipline can become chaos. Consider the gig economy. Uber drivers, freelancers, content creators, online sellers. Technology allows anyone to monetize skills, but irregular income requires stronger financial habits. Without budgeting and saving, volatility creates stress. Stress affects decision-making. When financially stressed, cognitive bandwidth shrinks. You focus on immediate bills, not long-term growth. This is why building an emergency fund is psychologically liberating. 3 to 6 months of expenses in reserve reduces anxiety. It expands your thinking horizon. Freedom is not just about having millions. It's about reducing fear. And fear, in America, is often tied to healthcare costs, job security, housing prices, and retirement uncertainty. These structural realities influence behavior. They make stable income feel precious. But stability can become a golden cage. If you rely entirely on a paycheck, your leverage is limited. When your income depends on one source, your bargaining power shrinks. Diversifying income investments, side businesses, royalties changes that equation. Ownership creates options. The most financially empowered individuals in America understand leverage. Not reckless leverage, but strategic leverage. Using other people's time, money, or systems to scale results. Real estate investors use bank financing. Entrepreneurs use teams. Investors use index funds to own pieces of entire markets. But leverage without discipline becomes disaster. The 2008 housing crisis was fueled by excessive leverage, easy credit, adjustable rate mortgages, overconfidence that prices would always rise. Overconfidence is another psychological bias. When markets rise for years, people believe risk has disappeared. It hasn't. It's just hidden. Financial literacy is not just knowing terms like ROI, ETF, or APR. It's understanding yourself, your impulses, your fears, your tendencies. Do you panic sell? Do you overspend when stressed? Do you avoid checking your bank account because it makes you uncomfortable? Awareness precedes mastery. Imagine two individuals earning the same salary in New York City. One spends impulsively, invests randomly, reacts emotionally to headlines. The other tracks expenses, invests consistently in low-cost index funds, avoids lifestyle inflation, and reads financial statements. After 20 years, the gap between them could be massive. Not because of luck, but because of behavior. In America, the financial playing field is not perfectly equal. Access, education, and starting points vary, but behavioral discipline remains one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. Money magnifies who you already are. If you are anxious, more money may increase anxiety about losing it. If you are generous, more money increases your capacity to give. If you are disciplined, more money compounds faster. The ultimate shift is this. Stop chasing money as a symbol and start building systems as strategy. Systems outperform motivation. Automatic investments, automatic savings, clear asset allocation, defined financial goals. When decisions are pre-made, emotions interfere less. Imagine waking up knowing your investments are working silently, knowing your expenses are controlled, knowing your future self is funded. That peace is wealth. The American financial landscape will continue to evolve. AI will disrupt industries. Remote work will reshape geography. Markets will boom and crash. But human psychology will remain constant. Greed, fear, hope, ambition. If you master your mind, you gain an edge that no market downturn can erase. Money is not the enemy, nor is it the savior. It is an amplifier, a mirror, a tool. The question is simple but profound. Are you reacting to money, or are you directing it? Are you driven by fear of loss, or guided by long-term vision? Are you consuming to impress, or investing to build? In the end, financial freedom in America is less about the number in your bank account, and more about the relationship you have with that number. When you control your impulses, understand your biases, invest consistently, and align money with purpose, you step out of the psychological treadmill. And when that happens, you are no longer chasing the dollar. The dollar begins to chase you.